Hey everyone, Alex here. In this episode, I was unable to join for today, but I think you're in for an exciting treat. A great conversation with Matt Whittemore and Heath Padgett. If you don't know Heath, he is an amazing serial entrepreneur and somebody that has been involved in the camping industry for a while. Starting out as a blogger, a filmmaker, and really an RV enthusiast, he and his wife went on the road to create some fantastic content over the life of an RVer and what it was like exploring our industry from that side of things. He ended up developing a campground reservation software system that he later sold to Camping World and Good Sam. Heath is also a serial entrepreneur and an investor in Campfire Ranch, and is somebody who, again, continues to engage with the industry in a big way. Sit back, relax. I hope you enjoy today's conversation with Matt and Heath, and hope you get a lot of value out of today's episode. This is Outdoor Hospitality Weekly.
Hey, Heath. Appreciate you being here. Everybody, we have Heath Padgett joining us. First off, where are you joining us from, Heath?
Co-working space booth, but in Montenegro. What's up, Matt?
I love it. So yes, for anybody who isn't familiar with Heath's work, Heath is a well-traveled gentleman, and I guess I'd say serial entrepreneur, really focused in the RV and travel and camping space. So I guess for anybody who is not familiar with your work, do you mind just giving us some background and letting everybody know who you are?
Sure. Yeah. When I hear that word serial entrepreneur, it makes me think of that scene in the Facebook movie where Sean Parker tells, you know what I'm talking about? He's like,
Yes.
entrepreneur. She's like, so you're unemployed. Anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, we landed accidentally in the RV camping space like a little over a decade ago now. Like many people, we bought an RV thinking it would be for one road trip, and then inadvertently made it our careers in a lot of ways. We took a 50-state road trip. After we got married, we moved into a 20-year-old RV like right after our wedding, like 4 days we hit the road after our wedding, quit our jobs at I was working at a startup in Austin. We were 23 and we're like, let's go have this adventurous honeymoon around the country, do all 50 states. So we did all 50 states in a year, which I suggest to nobody, is a horrible idea. And but we loved the travel element, and we kind of saw this path towards not having to choose between this box of a career and like weekend adventures and this blend of two. So we ended up kind of making these careers up along the way. We started in like freelance work, doing like video, creative writing, anybody who would pay us. And then slowly scaled it into creating our own content channels. We hosted a conference called the RV Entrepreneur Summit and a podcast that I did for a while. And Alyssa wrote some books, and then eventually a software company that I started and built up and sold, and all within this industry in the RV and camping space. And so it's been like a awesome 10 years, and getting to work on new projects here. There's kind of two frames to mind on different days that I have. Is like, am I not being creative by continuing to pursue projects in the RV space? But the other side of me just genuinely loves it. I mean, we've taken our kids to 20 plus countries now, most of them by RV. So we've taken them in camper vans in Japan, New Zealand, a bunch in Europe, UK. And it's just been something that's been such a big part of our life, is how we love to travel. And at the end of the day, like it's something that we say in the industry of like, it's helping people get outside, but it's genuinely true. And so the other side of that coin is I get to do work in an industry that's made a big impact on my life and get to build things that hopefully are helpful for other people too. So that's kind of the things that keep me in this space. I also think there's a compounding element too. When you work in the same industry for a long time, you just become friends with people, you build relationships, and over time, those relationships are meaningful as well. So you can expedite future projects because you've built up trust and rapport in that vertical, if that makes sense.
It does. Yeah, I love that. I spent 3 weeks in a 24-foot Winnebago View with I have a 2-year-old and my wife, and it was a lot of fun. My kid absolutely loved it. It was a blast, and that's like, I enjoyed it through just seeing him just enjoy it. But I got to tell you, it was stressful. We
Sure.
we spent at most 3 days, 3 nights in any given location. Some were 1 night, some were 2 nights, and just setting up camp and breaking down camp. It was like a full-time job. Like I was working on the road as I was doing it, and I just didn't even have the time to like open my laptop to like check emails. It was just set up camp, get the grill out, start cooking dinner, clean up, go to bed, wake up, cook breakfast, get on the road, and it's crazy. So, I mean, props to you for I'm sure you've got all kinds of crazy tips and tricks for being an efficient road warrior. So, I'm sure they're all over your blog that you've got there.
Yeah.
So,
TLDR, be a glutton for punishment.
yeah,
But in a good way. Like
yeah,
it's great adventures to have. You don't look back
yeah,
and like, I wish I wouldn't have done that trip with my kids, even though
yeah.
it's hard. Yeah.
We split it up too. We would do 5 nights in the RV and then get an Airbnb or like
Yeah.
do like a
Nice.
glamping tent, so we could just like, I mean, 3 people in a 24-foot Winnebago view was a lot. So,
Sure. Yeah.
but super valuable experience as somebody in the business to view it, intensely from the customer side. So,
And from your perspective, like in outdoor hospitality, I find it fascinating. So when we did Japan, so we had a 16.5 foot camper van, but it would look like an RV, but a minivan in the US, just for
right,
comparison, is 17 foot. But the campgrounds in Japan are so unique, and they're not necessarily new either. Like people, RVing is not huge there, but camping is big. So
right,
people leave Tokyo and they'll mostly tent camps, but now vans are becoming more popular, and a little bit of RVs too. But the intricacies and the setups that you have, like there's scenes in Harry Potter where, basically where they have like these crazy tent setups with cutlery and
yeah,
like these fires and stuff, and that's what it looks like at Japanese campsites. You go by people's tents and you're like, you look like you set up for 20 hours to get here, and we're like rolling in while the gate's closing to like we're the last one. So I just think that culturally it's kind of fun to just see
yeah.
nuances between American RV parks or European or Japan or New Zealand. It's kind of like you can pull certain things away from them and say this could actually be a cool thing to apply in the States. You know what I mean?
Super cool. Yeah, I love that. I love that. So you've got this new venture you're working on. We'll get into that. I kind of want to dig more deeply into your entrepreneurial path. You alluded to, founding a company, and can you share a bit about that? What you were on the road. I'm sure you saw some of the difficulties of booking campsites and finding campgrounds and all that. So why don't you tell us yourself what how that all transpired and what happened?
Yeah. Our first 12 months on the road, I remember we were out in California just hitting up a bunch of state parks and stuff. And as you know, a lot of, back in 2014, even fewer campgrounds were doing any type of advance online reservations. So
Yeah.
you had to call or show up for most of those campsites. And I just remember thinking, this is kind of ridiculous. Like, I don't know how long we've been booking hotels online, but a while. And so that was my last business, was called Campground Booking. The idea hit me pretty soon after we got on the road, but it was like once some other projects cleared up, found a technical co-founder in a Facebook group who was a fellow RVer, and was excited to work on the problem. And so we started it in 2016, the fall. We bootstrapped it for several years. We grew to maybe like a couple hundred parks who were using our booking platform. And then we did finally raise a round of funding and then sold it to Good Sam in 2021. Team was about 10 people. There's a ton of threads there of just like key learnings and building
Yeah.
a bootstrap software business, and things I would never do again. And some things I would do again. But that was the last business.
Nice. Love it. And I think that's super interesting to a lot of people. A lot of people get into the startup world, they're founders, and the ultimate dream and goal is to have an exit, a successful exit one day. Can you tell us a little bit about what it was like to sell your company, and also to sell your company to a pretty prominent player in the industry?
That was my dream. My dream was to be able to build up a tech company and sell it. And there's a a silly but true quote by Jim Carrey that he talked about. He's like, I hope that everyone can achieve their wildest ambitions so they can realize like it won't make you happy, which is a bit of a cliche. Like in the moment, I remember seeing like the email that's like, okay, the wire went through, like it's a done deal. And it was pretty anticlimactic in a lot
Yeah.
of ways. Like you breathe a sigh of relief because you're like, okay, the team has long-term jobs and you're in the thick of it for a long time. So it was almost easier to reflect on it. Like I stayed on for a year after we sold and then I left. And so during that transition period, I feel like looking back, there were so many good key learnings. I think one of the biggest one was like the confidence of being able to take an idea from inception to those early first customers, and build something that the market wants, and to try to pitch it initially and just go through that really awkward phase, and the phase where people are either doubtful or they don't understand what you're trying to do, and to even have people tell you like this isn't going to work, and so to be able to go through that phase and eventually go through each one of those hurdles of like, okay, I'm wearing all the hats right now. I'm doing support,
Yeah.
customer success, I'm doing onboarding, I'm doing sales, marketing, business development opportunities, and then to figure out which of those I needed to hand off first because I was just burning myself out. And then like this time around, like having gone through that whole journey, it's really helpful because you can, just take a bunch of, I mean, it's the same with any type of experience. You could say like, okay, one of the first things I'm going to be doing is hand off customer support. It's not that I feel I'm too big for my britches, but there are elements that if I end up in the support role long term or if for any amount of time, I'm going to hate running my business. And
Yeah.
so I think one of the biggest things for me it was very cool being able to sell to a big company, and there were also a lot of learnings around what makes certain companies attractive, as a buyer. So I think that was helpful experience as well because whether you're selling to like private equity or a company in your industry, recognizing that it's not too different from pitching your services to, if you're a freelancer or something, you're pitching to a client. You're like, hey, I have these set of skills. I can do design work for you or development work for you, and you have this need as a client. Here's how I can help. Selling a company in a lot of ways is similar to that journey, in that a lot of companies, if they're buying it as a strategic investment or acquisition, they're like, hey, I have this set of needs and you've built this product that can kind of fit in that box. At least that's how it was in our scenario. This was a strategic thing on the roadmap for them. And we had built the thing that they were looking to do. So it's like, hey, we can have a team shortcut us and get us there a bit faster. So
Love it. Love it. I see a lot of parallels with that kind of startup mentality and culture with the campground business. Like I bought my first campground and thought I was, a hot shot. I raised some money, I closed the deal, I negotiated it, and then I was promptly doing honey wagon runs and cleaning toilets and like didn't want to do it in the moment, but then realized it was valuable and that I was next hiring employees and train them on how to do all that. And they saw me doing it, and it just creates more of a an employee that believes in the leaders and you understand the business, like you mentioned, and you've done all the dirty jobs. So, find it interesting to just look at those parallels. Speaking of, campgrounds and that whole investment arena, you are active as an investor in campgrounds in a company that operates campgrounds. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
yeah, I'm an investor in Campfire Ranch. So it's led by a guy named Sam. They're based out of Gunnison, Colorado. And I don't have a lot of angel investments. Like basically, just there's only been a couple that we've really done. One was investing back into the venture fund who invested in my business, kind of as not as a give back. I mean, it's an investment, so hopefully there's a
Sure.
return. But it was also like, hey, thanks for making a bet on us, and I'm gonna return the favor and invest in your next fund. But then also the Campfire Ranch concept was, I just liked the founder. And so again, like there had been several angel investors that had bet on me in my last company, and those were really meaningful. And so it was kind of a way for me in this season where I wasn't doing another startup after taking some time off to get to have some fun conversations with the founder who was in the grind building it. And it was also like a little refreshing too, because I'd go to some of these retreats with like founders who are part of this fund, and they're doing all this hard work, and I'm just there, kind of spitballing ideas with them, and they're gonna then go
Yeah.
execute. And so there was a season where I was like, man, this is great. I can see why people do investment. But then after a while, you know, I eventually got a bit bored and was like, okay, I want to build something. Like I'm too young to not have a project that's like making me energized. So Campfire Ranch is amazing. They've got several different locations. They're working on more, and they have this kind of unique take on adventure huts and like experiences. So if you look at their reviews, they have, I mean, incredible amount of 5-star reviews and experiences with people who go there. So the team's amazing. Sam's a great leader for the business. So I'm excited to see where they take that. But the properties are very unique. So if you want a cool outdoor experience camping in Colorado, I would highly recommend checking out Campfire Ranch.
Amazing. Cool. Well, I think we've gotten some good background, and you've got this exciting new venture that you've just recently launched and announced. Tell us something about RV Help.
Yeah, so we just launched rvhelp.com. Definitely the most expensive domain name I've ever bought, but hopefully it'll be direct. Basically it's a website for finding vetted and mobile RV technicians and certified inspectors. And similar to my experience with campground booking, this was a need we saw on the road. There were so many instances where Alyssa and I were traveling in our RV and something broke down and we just couldn't find someone to help us fix it. And as people who were living in our RV full time, we would call dealerships and they'd say like, I'll get you in, but it is like a couple months, and then like we may have to drop it off for weeks at a time. And it just didn't really work as people who lived in our RV. And over the last 5-6 years, there's been an entire new category of more and more mobile technicians who are getting trained and certified through a couple different schools around the country. To me, it's a really great time for working on this solution because you have people who are working and running really good businesses. Amazing, like they have a background of learning these skills. Many of the ones who are certified and run these types of businesses, it's kind of a second or third career. And there's just a bar has been raised. Whereas there were times where we called a mobile tech and the person who showed up like is not running a professional business, just to say it nicely. And it's not somebody who would want to come into your space with your family and like work on your RV. And so there was a big component from my perspective of creating a business where as an RVer, if you need help, you can pick up the phone and just type in your location and find people who are certified, trusted. They carry their own insurance liability policies and can come directly to your campsite to fix whatever your problem is, whether it's a broken slide out, hot water heater, broken AC, whatever. So that's why we created RV Help.
Love it. When I saw this, it really resonated with me because I've seen it from the customer side and the campground owner side. I mentioned we were on the road for 3 weeks, and the air conditioner started going out, and we Googled, we called a bunch of places. We had this trip lined up, so like we were trying to coordinate it with where we're gonna be, and it took hours of our days to just try and figure it out. Left a bunch of messages, only a few called us back. Ended up not even getting it fixed. It started working on its own. We also had an issue with the air conditioner in the cab, and that's kind of like a interesting wrinkle to this whole business. Is like, is it a vehicle component or is it an RV component if you have a drivable? Because you might need 2 different people to work on it. We also see it on the campground owner side where even in seasonal campgrounds, it's a very common request. Somebody comes into the store to talk to the manager to say, whatever, my air conditioner is broken, my electrical is faulty or whatever. Can you give me information, for somebody to come fix it? So you want to be able to provide that resource. And especially in rural areas, it's hard to even just have that resource. We've had it several times where we have one reliable person that either retires and then you're
Mm-hmm.
you're out of luck. You don't have anybody. So I've ever since entering the industry, I've seen a huge need for this. So I love it. Definitely resonates. Is it currently operating? Are you active, or is it launching soon, or
Yeah, so
what's
we just launched at the Tampa RV show, so we've been live
cool?
for a little over a week. We have a partnership with the National RV Training Academy, so they run the RV
Nice.
Technician Association of America and then the National RV Inspectors Association. So basically, everyone that's on our platform today has gone through this school and this training and maintains an active certification. And that was important for us coming in because effectively we needed a partner who was able to vet technicians at scale. So since we have made the announcement and we've been onboarding some of the techs, we signed up about 400 technicians and inspectors who have
Wow.
gotten verified just in the last 2 weeks. And we've been working on this since last summer. So we did a lot of groundwork to make the process
Yeah.
a bit easier and everything else. And we're hopeful that we can have thousands on the platform here pretty soon so we can have great coverage. One other thing that also made me excited about this business is a lot of the service providers on our platform are traveling RV technicians. So they're mobile in the scenario that they come to you, but they're also traveling RVers as well.
Wow.
So some of them move to a couple different markets throughout the year. They may go to Indiana in the summer. Almost everybody goes to Florida or Arizona or
Yeah.
somewhere south in the winter, whether it's Texas. But some of them travel to even more markets throughout the year. So it's equally important as a platform that we focus on driving customers and RV owners to RV Help, so we can help create sustainable businesses for these RVers who are traveling and have great skills to be able to help RVers when they have a problem. And because they're traveling from location to location, when they update, Google will not allow you to move around and have a Google listing in multiple places. It just they don't really like that as a
Right.
listing preference. And so
Yeah.
within RV Help, the service providers can update their location. So when they go to a new service area, they can find jobs in that market. And then as an RV owner, you might open RV Help one day and be looking for technicians, and then the next day there's more people in that area because technicians have come into that region. And those are technicians or inspectors, like if you're looking to buy or sell an RV, that you wouldn't be able to find just on a quick Google search, because those locations are changing as they do.
Amazing. I imagine you're probably creating jobs or opportunity for better businesses, better revenue for some of these RV techs through the platform. Are you finding that?
I mean, that's the entire goal for
Yeah.
why I'm excited to build this, is so that we can focus on going back to your original question. What was it like to sell my last business to a big player? It was cool. And I also recognize that it doesn't make you happier having a big exit. So the goal for me this time is a bit different. The
Yeah.
goal used to be build a company, try to sell it. That was the entire goal. And for me this time around, it's try to build a business that I don't care if I ever sell. Like eventually, hopefully we'll
Love
have
it.
a good exit. But the idea is build something that's really fun. And for me, fun is people sending an email that says, hey, this just happened a couple nights ago. I just got an inspection request on RV Help already. They said they found me on there. They read my reviews and then they booked the job. That's $1,000 or $1,500 that goes to a small business owner. And so that's going to be exciting. And for me, the goal this time around is feeling like what we're doing is able to help small business owners create jobs and be sustainable in what they're trying to do.
Incredible. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I imagine you've been cooking on this idea for a while, given your experience. Is it something that you've been kind of ruminating on since the beginning, or when did it come to you?
Sure. I mean, yeah, a few years ago, it was, I watched a handful of the marketplace companies like Outdoorsy, RV Share. They have different ones in Canada. I forget what it's called in Europe. But the point is, I thought that was an interesting puzzle to focus on, to work on both sides. So effectively, you have your B2B side of the market, which with campground booking, we were strictly B2B. But I thought the added puzzle of a consumer marketing focused or marketplace was real exciting, and like a different puzzle that I hadn't gotten to work on yet. And so that was always kind of in the back of my mind. If there was a cool marketplace style business that fit the RV space, a new one that wasn't already there, it would be a fun one to get to work on. And so this had been in my head for a while, and I had known the owner of the RVTA in Texas, and so we kind of reconnected and talked more about this idea, and it aligned with where he saw the space going and everything. So it just kind of made sense to jump in. But yeah, it's been something in my head for a few years now. So it's fun to be able to bring it to life and get it out there. So it's on rvhelp.com if anybody's listening and wants to go check it out. Yeah,
love it. I mean, I'm excited to share it with our campers because I think it'll be an awesome resource for everybody.
As an operator, that's a whole other thing, because we talked to several RV park owners at the show this week, and it's something for them that you want to be able to feel good about who you're recommending to your campers as well. And it's like, unless it's hopefully that's going to be a big marketing channel and opportunity for us as RV parks and campgrounds. So to be able to go into a camp store and scan, a QR code that's like, find, vetted mobile techs nearby. So instead of having to say like, is this person doing a good job? Like if I'm sending my customer to them, those types of things,
Love it. Yeah. Super cool. So you've been in this industry for either deeply as a customer, as a full-time RVer, as an entrepreneur in a few different ventures. It's been since 2014 now, so 10 plus years. I think you have a super interesting kind of set of perspectives. You have different angles that you have seen into this industry over the last decade plus. I'd love to hear from you, what you've witnessed over the last 10 years in terms of trends and changes. You also kind of have the global perspective of different markets in your travels. So really a two-parter here. What have you noticed, as changing trends, with the customer over the last decade plus, and then looking forward, what are you anticipating in terms of where this industry is going?
I think one interesting thing for me, and this is relevant because we were in Tampa and we went to an RV park to stay with some friends for a few nights at a meetup, is the shocking high price point of RV park stays now versus 2014 to 2019 when we were full time. I mean, it was very easy to find RV park stays at places that were pretty nice for 30, $40 a night. I mean, that was our typical price point. And when somebody told me, it's like, you're not finding like a decent night stay under 80, $90. I don't know if that's true, but that's pretty shocking to me. Would you agree with that sentiment?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, that was my wife. Like, she did most of the booking on our 3-week road trip. And I mean, they were nice campgrounds, but yeah, I mean, I think probably the average we spent was maybe like $85 a night. Somewhere as low as maybe 65, but somewhere over 100. So I had the same experience. It was pretty shocking.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it points to why Harvest Host has been so wildly successful, because of the you know what I mean? Like, so I think that's a big change from 10 years ago when we got into this space. And I think from my perspective, some of the things that I'm excited about are seeing more crossover between countries like Europe and the States. There's a handful of companies that are playing in both markets, like indie campers, for example, and there's plenty of others. So there's OEMs that sell into each market. But I think that's interesting because there are certain things that there's certain apps that are available in camping markets in Europe that we don't necessarily have in the States, like Park for Night, for example, or Searcher sites. We have similar apps, but they do kind of different things. And so I think that it'll be fun to see like what other crossovers there might be in the market, and people who are kind of straddling both spaces, just because there's like nuanced things. So I know most people like don't care and don't ever think about like RVing in other countries, but that's something that is exciting for me.
Love it. Super cool. All right. So wrapping up here, we've covered a lot. Is there anything that you want to address that you haven't had a chance to yet?
No, it's been fun. Thanks for having me on, Matt.
Awesome. So rvhelp.com is the website. Is that the best way for people to learn about the new venture and how they can get some RV help?
Yeah, I mean, if you're an RVer or you're looking to buy an RV, we've got over, pretty soon we'll have over 1,200 vetted, verified mobile RV techs and inspectors on the platform. And so, one point I mentioned, I talked a lot about mobile RV techs, but there's also this whole other category of certified third-party inspectors as well. And we have a lot of great inspectors on rvhelp.com where if you're looking to go buy a rig or even sell one, they'll come out and do a really, really deep dive. I mean, the PDFs that inspectors do is crazy, like going into detail. And that was something that we didn't really know a lot about when we first started RVing, that you can hire somebody to go check out this RV and make sure that you're not getting into something that's going to leave you stranded on the side of the road. And so now that I have that background a bit more, that's a really amazing resource for people. But you can find any of these people for free on rvhelp.com if you want to find nearby mobile techs or inspectors near your location.
Amazing. I'll definitely check that out because I'm in the market for a used RV right now. So perfect.
There you go.
What's a good way for people to follow along you personally or get in touch with you and see what you're up to?
Yeah. Email wise, Heath at rvhelp.com. And I personally, Alyssa and I have a like Instagram and stuff that we kind of do, but it's more like family travels at Heath and Alyssa.
Nice.
I'm a horrible person on social to follow just because we don't post a ton. But every now and then we'll post a pretty picture. So
nice. Love it. Well, congrats to you on this awesome new venture. Appreciate the time and looking forward to keeping in touch, man.
Thanks, Matt. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.